So how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I love the summer, and I'm here in the I love the summertime. This is my time.
Yeah.
I love it. It's good for my locks and my skin,
True.
so it just makes me feel really great.
I know
Cold
what you
weather
mean.
doesn't work for me.
It's interesting for me. I'm a reggae musician, and it seems like all through the cold months, it's like no work. But when the weather get good, people start calling. So I give God the glory for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we experienced something collectively, we being artists, and that was this major show that we did in conjunction with the radio station. UTM Radio put on a big production at the Trocadero recently.
Right.
And you perform, I would say, exquisite.
Thank
You
you.
have a beautiful voice, and then the song selections. You also have a product out. Tell us
Yes.
about it, please.
The project is called Love, Pain, and Redemption. It is divided into 3 sections: love, pain, and redemption. It is celebrate love. This is the motto.
Mm-hmm.
It's celebrate love, triumph through pain, and find your redemption. So basically, the love is kind of the romantic part of life, and it's very important that we celebrate it, especially as Black people, because for some reason, the other day, I was watching an episode of Hill Street Blues. Remember that TV
Of
show?
course.
I know. It's like way back in the day.
No, we remember, yeah.
And the pilot episode was real interesting because there was a woman that had gotten called to, for those of you who don't know what Hill Street Blues was a police officer TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, they had a call to a house, and the woman had a knife and she was going to stab the little girl.
Mm.
The girl was probably like 14, 15. And so basically, to make a long story short, she was going to stab the girl because she caught her with the husband. The police officer, what was disturbing to me was how he counseled her. It was a Black police officer. He told her, now what happened was the child was the stepdaughter, was the woman's stepchild or his stepchild somehow, but he was actually having relations with this little girl. So the little girl standing there half naked holding a sheet on her, and the police officer, the Black police officer, counsels her and says, listen, you're going to have to forgive him to keep your family together. Don't let this, it only happened one time, so don't let this destroy your home. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, wow, this came out in 1981, I believe it was. And what was disturbing was this was truly how people felt. Not only was that young girl victimized, but the woman was victimized and feeling like this is what the structure is supposed to be. Do anything to keep your man. Do anything to, even though he violated this young girl, and the young girl was never considered. So what I was saying, as that ties into Love on my album, is that we really need to find a restoration of our families and our homes. That's not right. Like, that kind of structure that's not whole. In any family, any part of the human family, that is not whole. And those types of things have been happening for years. Now, one of the things that I like to say as an artist is because I'm here with a like-minded brother, and one of the things that Bob Marley said was, listen, I'm on the side of what's right, not white or black. But I personally have to be for my people first. So when people hear me say, my people, you know, black people, this and that. It never excludes other races because we're all part of the human race. But I must stand up firmly for my people first because they are on the bottom of the totem pole. We have to be able to see the light of day, and we're not going to be able to do that without educating ourselves on what it means to be truly human, because they expect us to be savages, and because we're conditioned, ultimately a lot of us have become savages. And it's a terrible thing, but we can't walk around and march and say this is a terrible thing without taking some action. So part of what my project is taking some action, you know. Have a strong black brother behind me.
Yes.
Listen, behind me, in front of me, what I'll turn around, this brother is everywhere. He's still, this project he produced. He actually, you know, did the, you know, the cover work. The art was done by a brother named Eric Ware in Wilmington, Delaware. Shout out to him. But, you know, so love is the romantic part. And the one song that I'd like for us to play today is Comfort, which speaks about...
Before we do that,
sure.
let me address some things that you brought to our attention.
Mm-hmm.
One of the major things that we must remember as far as with television and Hollywood is somebody else projecting an image to the world, how we are, and they don't even know us.
Right.
The other side of that, we must admit, is that the roles that they pick for the black man particularly is some subservient role, some asinine aspect of what's going on with a program, particularly with the police issue. In fact, in being in Philadelphia, I became aware of this division within the police force between the black cop and the white cop.
Mm-hmm.
Some brainwashed black cops will try to appease the white cops. And they forget that the black cops go through so much BS being part of that force. And we as black men, we can testify on times in about how many times we've been falsely accused of something by the cops. And when they come to, you know, make an arrest, we got them now. It's like, you got who? Many times, it's usually the black officer that's more aggressive in making the arrest. Wrong arrest now, but he just sure that he's, you know, he's going to get brownie points from showing up. You know, it's like, so any police show I see on TV, I still have this in the back of my mind, my personal experiences. And I'm not putting all brothers underneath the bus as far as black police officers, because some of those white police officers through the years have been horrible to our people, to our women, to our children, to our men. It's interesting that you, like me, could be watching something on TV and realize this is BS. But the issue that was highlighted in that one segment, I take to heart. Because some men in this society have allowed those who play these, we'll say, stereotypical games with our head, or they run this sex thing so much that if you're not a strong man within yourself, you are geared towards whatever sexual innuendo that they're throwing out there. It happens in the fashion magazine, you know, the industry. It certainly happens in TV and movies. It's in the music. And so we need conscious artists as yourself, and including me, who dare sing songs of reality and enlightenment for our people, but also education and love for the Most High. These songs don't come through commercial radio. Right. So I appreciate you as an artist that can certainly fill a gap that's been far too long in the music industry absent of conscious artists, male or female, young or old, black or white. We just need to be uplifted. So I wanted to address that. And then when you talk about your, let me see the CD, because your cover is really extraordinary. And ladies and gentlemen, I am here talking to Nadira Norjahan about her CD, her latest project released, and it's called Love, Pain, and Redemption. The cover is worth the price of admission for me because art does that. Art is invigorating, art uplifts the spirit. But even on the inside, it's far more indicative of, it seems, your life. Like you're really at peace with yourself, certainly with a king man. And the pictures say a lot, as we know, pictures worth 1,000 words. I'm not going to say no more. Let's listen to your song that you have us eagerly awaiting, and that's the sound. It's called Comfort.
Yes.
Let's listen to Comfort. You.
Thank you.
I was thinking while I was listening to this that, we as a people, we're looking for comfort. Many of us look for comfort in a relationship. Many of us looking for comfort on the job. We're looking for comfort in the neighborhood, wherever we reside. And some of us forget that comfort takes work. I mean, you have to prepare how you're going to be comforted. You have to know those things that comfort you. You have to learn to be appreciative, And so I appreciate the song. It made me think about how many people are looking for love in the wrong places. And sometimes people fail to remember you have to love yourself first. And you can't expect nobody to love you if you don't love yourself first. In fact, it's the thing of, we call it the law of attraction. So if you're true to yourself, you want to attract that energy to you. So the song Comfort, and I'm sure many of the listeners have other ideas, and to those who are listening to the program, if you so desire, you can call in, touch base with us on this issue of highlighting this illustrious artist, Nadira Norjahan, and her ability to, let's say, put audiences in a more classic mode when she's at the microphone. Yeah, you do affect people, and I give thanks for that, because the joy is that people are suffering and they need healing, they need upliftment, and you do that.
It's very interesting that you say that. First, I wanted to touch on what we spoke of. Before the break with the song. Love is very important to highlight. It's one thing I loved about love, because Bob Marley still lives with us. One thing I love about his message is there's a lot of love, romantic love for your family, your community, and all that. But it's very important that we highlight that, because we have a lot of broken relationships. I do want to run through and let you know just what you just said. Is relative to the pain situation here, which I have a spoken word piece here that I don't know if you'll be able to play that. But the spoken word pain is about rebuking pain, not being married to pain, which a lot of us have done, which I've done, up until a certain point in my life. So, and the redemption part is satisfying that self-love, what you were just saying. Redemption means that, you didn't go through it for nothing. It's not in vain. There's a reason for every moment of love and pain we celebrate or suffer in our life. There's a reason for it, because one, it builds who we are. Your strength comes out to deal with that pain. If you never stubbed your toe, you would never know not to hit that edge of the bed or edge of the table, you know.
Or that jutting rock on the sidewalk.
Exactly. Exactly. So watch where you're going.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? If someone hadn't been hit by a car once, we wouldn't know that we needed the safety feature of teaching our children and teaching drivers. So the same thing. One thing I wanted to retouch on by that episode of Hill Street Blues that we were speaking about, and when a gentleman was telling the woman that she needed to accept the fact that her husband had a sexual relationship with his stepdaughter, but she needed to accept it in order to maintain her relationship with him, and then the girl was dismissed. One of the things that is very important that I highlight is that is not just an issue for our community, for the black community. That is a human problem. But like I said, I have to be for my people first. And there's so many negative things that are highlighted about our people, and the objective is to break us. It's to ultimately break these beautifully melanated selves that we are, and to teach us that we need to settle for garbage. There is evil and good on every plane and every spectrum. That's balance in the universe. In order to deal with evil, it has to be dealt with head. So this is part of why this project came to be, because I have lived through a lot of pain, heartache, domestic violence. I actually have a song on here called Hands Off, which I wrote that project some time ago, probably almost 10 years ago. And so I have that, and I'm giving an invitation to all domestic violence leaders, domestic violence survivor leaders, to reach out to me so that you can use this song, Hands Off. That's what it was created for. I will send it to you, put it on your radio, send it out to someone who needs it. It's about not allowing yourself to become a victim after that first time that you're hit. And this is men and women. We have homosexual relationships where people are beating each other. You know, nobody has the right to put their hands, their feet, their nothing on you except to love you and to make you feel good about yourself.
There's one thing I must admit, that we as artists were given a special place in time and in this world to be able to put feelings into music and composition. But let's go on with the album. I hear a lot of things in it, and I was wondering, who are the musicians?
Well, first of all, Samuel Archer, who is yes, he is first and foremost, because one, that's my king there.
Yes.
And I always honor him in everything. I honor him on the stage and everything. He plays the keys on the project. He's produced the project. We have Benny Barksdale, who plays the saxophone.
My man, Benny Barksdale.
Yes, he's featured on a song on here. And then a brother named Rod Harris, who lives in Chester. He did guitars. We have Ian from London. Ian Chance from London. And we have one more person I'm missing, I think.
Rod.
We have Rod. Okay. And the mixing and pre-mastering, John Evans, in Nashville, Tennessee. The man is just great. He's my brother from another mother. I've already claimed him. And Eric Bogetz. Am I saying it right?
The engineer?
He from the Boom Room. Also helped to do some engineering for the project. So it was 2 years, 2 years in the making.
I'm an artist, and I understand clearly sometimes it might take some time and it might take a number of individuals to see the project through. However, it is a blessing. It is an enormous blessing to put out a product.
Yeah.
And I give thanks that with today's technology, whatever you put out, it's going to get around. That's the way that machine goes. Am I right, Mr. Engineer? So I'm proud for you. I'm proud of you that you have a product out. I even give thanks for the messages you have, because we do know in this male-dominated music industry, the woman needs to be heard. And today's program is about that. I'm playing a lot of music for sisters, for mothers, for daughters, for nieces, aunts, and little girl from around the corner. You know, because I really believe children need to hear these sounds, particularly young girls who, unfortunately, in this day and age, 2016, a lot of these girls have become violent. They've lost their femininity. They've lost their cotton picking mind. Come on now.
Absolutely.
And I wonder, like, why the leaders that be are not addressing these issues that affect our youth.
Well, what I believe is that it's systematic. You know, if you read the Willie Lynch letter, we can say his name was Willie Lynch or not, but there is too much exact truth in that entire process to break us. If you break the womb, you take the seed. So the girls right now are angry. They do not have, first of all, and I can attest to this as a young girl who was left unprotected. We're not protecting our daughters. We're concerned about our sons, but we're not concerned enough. We're not concerned enough about our sons. I raised 4, and it was difficult. And I was chastised for putting them out when I needed to show them to be a man. But now to this day, they thank me and they bless me. But we have taken away the discipline. We have allowed the man, quote unquote, to take away the discipline, the right to discipline our children, because sometimes we've gotten excessive. You know, you don't have to beat a child with a branch from the tree. You know what I mean? For that child to understand, because what you're doing is you're exacting the violence that you're bringing that back out that we suffered as slaves. You know, that's the same thing we're doing to them. I know I did it, and when I got excessive, I felt bad. There's so many parents that are just like, I'm gonna beat you behind because this is what happened to me. And none of us, there's a mental issue that's going on with our people, and that's what I was going to close that in with. The mental issue, the mental health issue within our communities is not being dealt with on a real level. It's being dealt with on a medicinal level and by textbooks. It's the same way, like you can't put a boy and a girl in a school, in a middle school, and tell that boy to sit still and learn. The little girl will sit there with her hands folded and everything, but that boy needs to go and build things and destroy things and all this, and he needs to be interactive. Where the girl, you know, you need to cater to her feminine side, and we're not paying attention to those things. That's why our nation is broken. That's why our world is broken, because we're not using common sense in humanity. So our children are upset. Inside, their souls are angry with us. Like, you know what? You're not teaching me anything. You're not showing me where to go. You've been there, so why don't you have the map? It's just like picking up my cell phone and putting in something in the GPS and it sends me somewhere else. I'm like, you know what? That's not right. I'm ready to throw the phone.
You're supposed to know this.
Yeah, right.
GPS.
You're supposed to know it. You the G. Right, exactly. So until we make our real decision to discipline our children with love, stop treating them like, you know, when they're 2, they're 2. But when they're 12, they're 12. They live in a world now where sex is just available to them. You know, all kinds of things are available to them. Drugs, guns, you know, all of these things are available to them. If we don't sit them down to the real table, and say, young lady, close your legs, cross your legs. You should not be wearing lipstick at this age. You should not be walking around with mascara and stiletto heels at 12 years old. Until we get that mindset that, hey, you know, run outside and play somewhere doesn't work. Bring those kids in when the lights come on, like we had back in the day, you know, or like most of us had. We're going to be lost, and it's going to be worse.
Let me add something to this, because the things that you discuss, even though it's from your point of view, which I would say a female point of view, it's not just solo or singular. We're all affected by the same outside stimuli. I always say the youth are overloaded. The adults are overloaded. So you imagine the youth, they can't handle all this stuff in the society. Even though most young people tend to have the attitude, it's my life. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm out of here. I ain't coming back. And hold up. You don't even know what life has in store. And the old folks used to say back in the day, there ain't no love in them streets. You running out into the streets, you don't know what you're getting into. So I was saying this even to our engineer. We talk about these things a lot, and we care about the youth. So for me as an artist, my intentions for years was always the things that I see need addressing. But you get out there on the corner, nobody want to hear you. So now we have to find some creative way of addressing these things that affect us on a daily basis. For instance, I've always been one that's been a peacemaker. But many times the peacemaker is viewed as a joker, disrespected, and people are like, well, just let us fight. No. Because I always say, in a fight, somebody don't want to fight. Somebody wishes somebody, get this fool off of me.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that a lot of the messages that come from Hollywood and from certain artists in the music industry is geared toward a violent nation. And that nature in us really is not real. It's an outside stimuli. We are loving people because guess what? We were made in love. First of all, we come from our mother and father uniting in a loving moment. Second of all, and ultimately the best reason of all, the Most High gives us love on a daily basis as human, as life.
We're born with it.
Right. So how could we ignore love? And many guys, they want to pretend they're so hard, they're not loving. No.
Well, that's part of what comfort is about. Comfort is not only, it's because it's specifically written about the relationship of the woman toward the man, which is another thing that we're dealing with. But the reason why I wrote that is because not only am I built to comfort you, you gotta be masculine enough to accept that comfort. When I say, come here, you know, you gotta be like, oh, this is what God gave me for my end of my day. And as the queens, the empresses, we gave birth to this nation. So we have to nurture it, even though, and this is why you see women, single women, pushing and going, because we were given the inner extra dose of strength to be able to deal with that, because we gave birth to, as the mother, it is our maternal instinct to comfort everything. It is our maternal instinct to comfort everything. That's why most people are nurses. I'm so glad that there are male nurses now, but that's why most people are nurses. Most women are nurses, because nurturing is what we're built for. Now women are getting away from it, and since this is a platform about women, I needed to speak on that, because we can't have the expectation that the man is just supposed to be who he's supposed to be, the provider, and helping us to rear the children and this and that, and he's supposed to go out and toil the field and then come home, and then our part is just to bite his back out. Look, naturally, we're going to have those tendencies, because our mamas and our mamas' mamas and her mama did that. But at some point, we got to have a change. Sometimes in a relationship, you got to be the first one to say, I'm sorry.
That's right.
First of all, women, like you said, so many of us, not all of us, 'cause I know quite a few women who are very feminine. But femininity just does not mean weakness. And that's what a lot of queens are misconceiving. And not understanding that being feminine, being soft, being regal, beautiful, and getting up on the stage and wearing flat shoes because I'm sexy anyway. Being like, I watched Fantasia. I went to the Anthony Hamilton and Fantasia concert the other day. Listen, that woman is a powerhouse. But when she was walking around, she was like, y'all security, y'all let these people touch on me. They wanted to touch her arm and stuff.
Right.
And she said, let these people touch on me. It's like, they love something. I'm beautiful and they're beautiful. We need to feel touched. And what I saw, it's a queen. It's across this stage. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Regal. And she came out there and she was her without provocation, without any excuse. She is Fantasia. She opened her mouth, gave her message, and it was received. And, I want to cry inside. I'm like, yeah, that's me, And that's what we need, and that's what Love, Pain, and Redemption is.
Okay.
Relative of that, the familiarity of the woman's experience.
I appreciate your ability to reason at length. I really do. You remind me of a professor. Because a professor holds the whole class interest. Not only are we going to deal with the subject matter, but we're going to deal with the individual students in the classroom. Easy to talk to them. Now, the joy of what I'm saying to you is, you said a couple of things that I had to speak on. One is a lot of children who go to school who don't have no love from mama. So now you expect that child to learn, and he or she didn't get a warm embrace before they left the house.
Right.
They didn't get no breakfast before they left the house.
Right.
They might have got cursed out when they left the house or before they left the house.
Or didn't even see mama or daddy at all.
Okay? So a lot of individuals, young and old, are walking out here, as we say, walking time bombs. Because the least little thing is going to set them off, because they didn't get no comfort.
And guess what? The medical industry has a name for it. Post-traumatic stress disorder.
But see, the world we live in, that stress never goes away, because we have all these outside stimuli that affects us. First of all, if you're going to fling bombs across the world on another country, you think it's over there, but that energy comes back around here, because that's what the world is made.
Absolutely.
What goes around comes around. And so the youth today are quite violent because they can't handle all this pressure. As I said before, it's overload. We're all overloaded. Look, the year 2016, we had so many products out there, and if you have this driving mechanism within the commercial industry to buy the latest thing, you never settle down. The car industry has proven that for years. Here's a new car, here's a new model. Wait a minute, why are you pressing me to get another car? My old joint still.
Right. Yeah.
Now we have the youth who want new sneakers.
They
When we
want
were young,
flashy
we had to
everything.
wash our shoestrings and our sneakers. We had to take our school clothes off when we came from school and put on our play clothes.
Right.
But those things taught us how to appreciate what little bit we had, or how hard mom or pop worked to provide these things for us. When you have an ungrateful child, particularly a male individual who disrespects his mother, who can't say, Mom, I'm sorry, who can't say, Mom, thank you for all you've given me, I don't like those things. I live in a situation where I see a lot of young men today disrespect their mothers on a regular basis. And your mother wiped your butt when you was a baby. You didn't wipe your butt, your
That's
mother
right.
did it.
That's right.
Your
That's
mother
right.
fed you.
That's
Your
right.
mother put a little, what they call it, allowance in your pocket. You didn't sweep the step, you didn't cook a meal, and you mad at your mother?
Well, this is